Back in the vanilla version, we had a variety of missions, but with Longwar Rebalanced, these have not only been changed by the different aliens, different mechanics, but the rewards and contents have been changed as well. With this final piece of the puzzle, you should be able to have a proper response to any and all missions that you encounter. I'll be giving you both a brief description of the mission and what has changed, as well as my tips to beat them. So the first mission we've got is Abduction. In this mission, your goal is to find overweight women and using wrong script. Never mind. This is your first and most basic mission. Aliens come in to abduct people, at least that's what you're told. You never really see them do it. They could have just been sent on a mission to sell Space Girl Scout cookies for all we know, but we don't. This mission is triggered by an abductor-type UFO landing in a country that spawns in groups of 2 or more, not the countries, the UFOs. So when you get an option, you have to choose which ones you want to help. The place you choose gets lower panic, and the ones you don't get higher panic. Fairly simple. But if you can shoot down the abductors later in the game, you can actually have less abductions to turn. So any abduction event now becomes a positive result if you leave only one alive. On the tactical layer, these missions are simple. You over here, aliens over there, kill they ass. You can bring a full B team if you're ahead of aliens in terms of tech and they have not leveled up recently. Next we've got terror missions. So, when a cultural enrichment ship enters an area, it makes the locals rather upset. And even those not in that country but in that entire continent. Fortunately, you can mitigate this just like in vanilla, by either intercepting the UFO before it lands or saving the civilians on the mission. Personally, I do not bother with saving anyone, and focus on enriching our visitors back with some good all-American culture. The problem in this mission, though, is you're guaranteed to have chrysalids. As you remember from our alien guide, chrysalids are very bad for your health. Your A team is going to be needed, maybe a 1B teamer. If you retreat from this mission, the country that gave you this terror mission is going to leave no matter their previous panic level was. Next we've got UFO site missions. When the aliens decide to have a roadside picnic, which is a very ghetto and low-rent thing to do in the Western world, we need to remind them to use the dedicated parks and zones for this purpose. Now, the nature of these picnics can depend on a few things. Did you throw a rather spicy rocks at their little clown car? Then you get My Car Has Broken Down picnic, where the clowns inside may not be in one piece. And these are generally good missions to send your B or C team to grind up some XP and bring in a few friends home. Don't worry if they're a bit aggressive though, they are just hangover. One thing to know here is to study the map and always use the terrain to your advantage. You are on their turf, and I strongly recommend to first clear out the patrols around the ship and then find a good entry point to clear out deck to deck. Patrols are best to be taken first because you do not want to face a full alien contingent striking you from behind. Now, if the nature of the picnic involves voluntary landing, then it's time to buckle up. Because in this type of mission, you are dealing with full groups of aliens that are ready for you. If you got the first alien base mission completed, you can see a list of aliens that you will be facing. You will always be outnumbered, and at times the whole thing might be a trap. This mod encourages you to retreat from bad engagements, from bad missions, especially these trap missions. So now you are also given an ability to tactically retreat. If you find yourself outmatched, do not be afraid of retreating, because completing the mission is almost never worth the casualties in this type of mission. You can also restart until you get a good deployment, but that's quite cheesy and I do not recommend it. Knowing when you're beat is a skill you have to learn. Bring your best soldiers if possible, and if they are all on break/hospital, then it's okay to ignore this type of mission, depending on the panic situation in the area. If it is really high, you will probably going to have that country leave. Now let's talk about council missions. Occasionally, you will be contacted by the Council of Ungrateful countries, who can offer you a variety of missions. Some of these are scripted, some of these are randomly generated. Now, I should also mention that there's a console command to force a random council mission to be generated at any given time. Here are some of the random missions that you can see. I will not be covering the scripted ones because they're very similar to the ones in the base game. This includes the 6 DLC missions, and these are same as vanilla, but modified using the long war rebalance enemies and difficulty, but mechanics remain the same. Target extraction. You got to get the VIP to the landing zone, and in your path there are a few pods of aliens. Not a big deal, but the key here is keeping up the tempo and not leaving your flanks open, because you will be getting some weaker aliens dropping in every few turns, especially on your flanks. Move fast, but do not leave yourself and VIP vulnerable, because VIP cannot really take more than 1 or 2 hits. For this mission, I like to bring half the team from A team and some from the B team. Now let's talk about asset recovery. The aliens in this location really would like a first-hand demonstration of your weapons. Oblige them. In this mission, I like to have a few A teamers and a couple of B teamers, and sometimes even C teamers, depending on how ahead I am in the strategic layer. Bomb defusal. Now this one though can be tough. Lots and lots of thin men and mutants. You'll be facing a strong initial opposition and you will have to take your time. Then disable those nods to buy yourself a bit more time. After you have grinded those down though, you usually have 1 or so pods are left that are not activated. That's rare, but it can happen. When you reach the bomb, you have a few turns. If you have a few turns left on the timer, then you can take a few turns positioning, because as soon as that bomb is disabled, thin men will drop out of the sky all around you and flanking you. In that turn, you will have to use everything you got to minimize the damage you're going to take. Otherwise, you might not be able to make it home. Now for this mission, I like to bring mostly A team, maybe 1 or 2 B team members, especially for that flanking maneuver that the aliens like to pull. Now let's talk about Exalt Missions. There are mainly 3 types of missions, mostly divided by how many soldiers you can bring. Extraction. 3 soldiers plus the one you sent on the covert mission. Probably should send a medic or an engineer for the covert ops. It's fairly straightforward. Exalt will keep spawning until you complete it. Personally, this is one of my favorites because I like to bring in 1 tank, 1 sniper and 1 infantry and escort the operative to the extraction, but then I like to sit on it until I'm getting overwhelmed or bored, and then reenact 300, except it's just 3 guys with plasma rifles. It's absolutely great. Next is data recovery. In this mission, you got 6 soldiers plus an operative. What you got to do is protect the indestructible laptop from Exalt to protect the rare Pepes that you have rightfully stolen. You can do it by having 1 person in the hacking zone if they manage to enter the hacking zone. If that fails, you still got the backups, but the Exalt will also try to hack it. So, if the hacking zone is too full of Exalt nerds at the time of deployment for the first location, you can just camp on that spinning pole thingy that you can locate on the map. The biggest problem here is the Exalt keeps sending reinforcements from multiple angles. Now, this will raise the obvious question. Why does Xcom, the internationally sanctioned last line of defense against the alien threat, not have the air superiority over the area? Because that will be too smart. You can argue you occasionally fight in the urban areas, but why not bring in a helicopter gunship or, some air support or something? But no. Let's talk about the last Exalt mission before I lose it. Now, if you'd like to check out the last video that I had on Exalt, I talk about this mission. I think it is very fun. It is pretty tough, and you can initiate this after you have successfully accused a country of harboring Exalt. And what I recommend here is holding the helipad area and maybe advancing to the first room with full covers. Because the area is very bad to fight in as you go in deeper, and the enemy is very aggressive. Now let's talk about the defense missions. The best type of missions, the base defense. When aliens get sick of their teeth kicked in, they will make a direct assault on your base. Why would they not just orbitally bombard it to smithereens? Because of good sportsmanship, I guess. In this mission, you will get some of the team you choose, and other few members will arrive as reinforcements later. I'm not sure how it is decided, but you're not going to get your full team. First, you'll be defending the command room, and then clear out the hangar. This is an awesome mission that is only made better by the balancing changes of this mod. Just like in vanilla, you will be supported by some rookies, and this was where I found out about the enrage mechanic in this game. Now, this mission, unlike in vanilla, can happen a few times, and if you happen to lose, you will only suffer some massive setbacks, but it's not going to be a game over. There are also hangar assaults where aliens will attack your plane hangars, and if they manage to succeed, they are going to destroy or damage your planes. If you manage to piss them off enough, they will pull this off. In this case, you are dropped into a previously multiplayer-only hangar map to have to clear out the aliens out of it. Be careful though, in some circumstances you can have aliens deployed on each of your sides and you start flanked. This can be a tricky situation, so bring in an A team and a few B teamers for leveling. And let's talk how we can assault their bases. Now, alien base assault is where boys become men, girls become women, and men become whimpering little bitches. This is where shit gets real. You will be pulverized if you do not 100% know exactly what you're doing, or you're simply unlucky with the starting spawn. These missions have taken me at least an hour, while a normal mission takes me roughly 15 to 20 minutes. This is an absolute marathon of death. You will have to do it every time you want to bring a country back into the Xcom Council, as well as once as a part of the story. The rewards here are absolutely worth it, because this is one of the only two places where you can find a fusion core, which allows you to build a fusion lance or guided launcher. To even start this mission, you need a skeleton key, which you make from captured outsiders. Then, you need an active satellite on that country, which has left the council, so even getting started is a chore. Then comes the actual mission. As you can see on the screen, each time you succeed, the next one gets harder. And like that was not enough, and here is where you can find the leaders that are even tougher than the normal leaders, such as Atlas, which is so large that it might as well be an alien base on its own. In the first room, you can get swarmed from the sides or from the front, so my recommendation is to scout around and make sure to eliminate alien pods one by one. It might be a good idea to find a corner and move around from there. Fortunately, the first room tends to be the hardest of them all, because it is a rather open, hard to take cover, and if you start in the middle, you might be getting flanked. After you slowly inch your way to the second room, you usually encounter a large group of mutants. Here, you can use the terrain to your advantage. Just be careful, berserkers can jump to the upper platform to get to you. Later on, you will most likely encounter a pod of ethereal with some bodyguards. Probably not on the first base assault, but on the future ones you will. Here, the strategy depends on what you've got. If you can strike quickly, you can rush the ethereal, and if not, you can retreat to a safe position, but not so fast that ethereal starts spamming Psystorm. While you retreat, your snipers can take out the bodyguards or take attacks of opportunity from there. You can see some minor enemy squads, and in the final room, depending on how advanced the alien tech is, you can see either ethereal or sectoid commander. This one is generally simple: surround the room and then open fire. Use elevation to your advantage and good luck. Now, the final mission is very much like the Alien Base Assault, but shorter. This time you will constantly see the strongest versions of the aliens. On higher difficulties, the leaders of these pods begin invulnerable on the first turn. Make sure you have defensive means. You will see different combinations of aliens with more abilities as a result. In the end, you will find the Uber Ethereal, who, just like you have seen in the Ethereal guide, best dealt with up close and personal with extreme prejudice. And this summarizes all that you need to know about the missions in XCOM Long War Rebalanced.